Okay, so do you wish you'd have a magical natural first aid and medical kit that was inexpensive and really worked? Would you like to have more natural means to take care of your family's bumps, bruises, colds, and emotions? Or have you ever wanted to know more about homeopathy and why and how it works? Well, if the answer is yes, you're in luck. Today, we have self-proclaimed Mommyopath and creator of the one schoolroom homeschool curriculum called Teach Me Health and Homeopathy, Paola Brown. Welcome, Paola. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
I'm so excited that you're here. So let me just give a little bit of information and background really quick. My name is Alicia McPeak. I am a holistic nutrition and wellness coach, and I'm going to be hosting today. I have several co-hosts today. I have Alyssa. Say hi, Alyssa. Marley, probably Kenna, Danica, Abigail. Welcome. Oh, she's one of our co-hosts. Yay! I'm glad you're here. Okay, awesome. So I don't think I hit everybody, but that's the start of who all's hosting here with me today. So anybody else who's hosting, just pop in and say hi. So welcome to our Mommy and Me online wellness events. We're a group of moms looking for a more natural, sustainable way of living and raising our families. Our goal is to create a supportive community where we can be happier, healthier, and thrive. Now, if you're joining us on Facebook, please say hello, because we won't know you're here unless you do, and we can't enter you into our giveaways unless we know you're here live. So say hello, and if you're watching on the replay, just hashtag replay and let us know you stopped by. Now, Paola. Paola. I was so worried about not saying your name correctly, so let's be real here. So you have so many exciting stories to share with us today. Let me just tell you guys, she's a mom with a master's in curriculum who's extremely passionate about homeopathy and its uses. She has a huge Facebook community called Paola Brown's Homeopathy, where you can join in on the discussion and learn more about homeopathy. But what I want to get to, Paola, is that everyone has a story, that moment in time where they felt that nudge leading them down a new path and often to a new purpose. So what was that nudge that ultimately got you here with us today?
Okay, so I have, I think, a pretty transformative story. It started when I got married and started getting a lot of UTIs. Super fun. That's what you want when you get married, right? Get a bunch of UTIs, and took antibiotic after antibiotic after antibiotic. And soon I developed a chronic bladder disease called interstitial cystitis. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's your bladder is not infected. It's the urine is coming out sterile, but you're bleeding internally. And basically what that means is that it felt like someone had taken my bladder, lit it on fire, turned it inside out, and put it out with a track shoe. That's what it felt like every day of my life for 7 years.
Sounds absolutely horrific.
Yeah, really horrific illness. It goes undiagnosed for a long time, usually because they think you have a UTI because they see the blood, and then they're giving you more antibiotics and you don't even have an infection. It's really terrible. So I went, I flew everywhere. I flew coast to coast trying to find help. I went to the Mayo Clinic. I went to, over in Maryland, where they have this research hospital, the Maryland school. Anyways, went all over the place. And the doctors consistently gave me kind of the same three options. Option number one is to cut the nerve to my bladder, where I wouldn't feel it anymore. Another option, this was actually the first option that they gave me, was to take a blue pill. It might make all my hair fall out, and it would turn my urine blue. And I thought, like, no thanks. That sounds like I'm Brazilian. We are vain, and I was not interested. But just from a practical sense, like, just my logic in my brain was like, okay, so if I take this pill, I'm ingesting all these chemicals that are so toxic that it might make hair fall out. That feels like a new problem. Or like the cutting the nerve of the bladder, that feels like a new problem. I already have a problem, in case you didn't notice. I don't need a new one. And then the doctors were like, okay, well, we can give you opioid painkillers, but I make all my girls join a support group for the addiction that they will develop.
Fantastic choices.
I know. And I wasn't even crunchy back then, Alicia, but I was like, okay, I don't even like really drink soda pop. I'm not even addicted to that. So like, let's start with soda pop before I go straight to like an opioid addiction. And so I just thought, what I did though, is I reached across the table and I put my hand on her desk, my doctor's, and I was like, I'm so sorry, with all due respect, this seems insane. Like, I don't think I can take any of these options. And she put her hand on mine and she said, to her credit, she said, then you'll do it right. you'll find yourself a better way. Go and find it. And I was like, okay, that was really a scary moment because I walked away from conventional medicine, and up until then, like, doctors knew everything, right? And so I did acupuncture, I did herbs, I flew, again, this is more flying around, went into California, this great naturopath out there. Just everything helped a little bit, changing my diet. I went paleo, autoimmune. If anyone's ever done that, like, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, it's that Hunger Games, like, I understand. And it helped keep the pain at bay, but it wasn't until I found homeopathy. I had a really difficult experience. I had a kind of a stillbirth type miscarriage. It was a second trimester. And then I had more autoimmune diseases that cropped up, and I was itching all over my body. And I finally just remember one night I was just praying my heart out, and I said, Lord, just help me find something. And I prayed, and I think I said, please, 100 times in my prayer. And then I got up, I set up my computer, and I just typed homeopathy, like I've heard that word before, and gut health. And I found so much about it. And I started working with a practitioner within one. So they gave me the one remedy, didn't work. Switched to another remedy, didn't work. And then I went to the third remedy, and I was like, it's like the first week, it was like, that was kind of a better week. But I'm like, that was just a fluke. Maybe my hormones just weren't crazier. Because I remember, like, my hormones made whatever, it makes everything worse, right? So I was like, so then a month later, I was like, okay, no, I am getting better. And I like just little things, like I used to be able to retain very little urine because the swelling of the bladder got so much that I could only hold like small amounts. And I remember once I had to go to the bathroom, and I went, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was like 5 seconds longer. Just like these little subtle things started changing. And within a year, I would say it was 95% better. There was just a little, like, 1 or 2 days right before my period that my bladder would bother me. And I'm like, I could live like this forever. Like, this is wonderful. And I'm happy to say that now, it's been many years. Now I'm fine. I'm fine. I think I'll always have a little bit of a finicky bladder. Like, I got to drink water. I'm one of those women, but it's fine. Totally fine. Wonderful.
So
like
those of you who don't know, having this, well, I'll use the word disease. It is like having a continual UTI all the time. It's constantly inflamed, which also makes sense that why sometimes right before your period, a little bit of inflammation would cause a little bit of a flare. So, but I'm glad to hear you're doing fine. Awesome. Yes. So we're going to have to hear more about how that all works. But I want to back up for just 1 second. First of all, you have 2 kids, right?
3. Mm-hmm.
You have 3 children. What are their ages?
One's 13, 11, and 8.
Okay, and how many years ago was this that this started?
So I was pregnant with my 3rd child when it was right. Actually, I got pregnant with her right after it was diagnosed. So it was right before. So she's 8. But I've been suffering with it for a while, like just undiagnosed. So let's go like years, 10, 11 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And you're also living overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is pretty cool.
Budapest.
Yeah. Kind of cool. So, but she's a Texas girl, for those of us from Texas. She's from here. So that's kind of how we found each other. Okay. So with that being said, let's go back to the blue pill. Not only were you going to lose your hair, but years later, you found out something else about it.
Oh, I forgot about that. Good job, Alicia. So good hosting skills. My mom called me like a few months ago, and she was like, hey, have you heard of that drug called Elmeron? And I was like, yeah, that's the blue pill that was going to turn my urine blue and make all my hair fall out. And my mom was like, look at this. And she sent me a link. It is to class action lawsuits. This drug, they're now having massive class action lawsuits because people who are on that drug for about 15 years are going blind.
Oh my
they are
gosh.
going blind.
Now, isn't it a cancer drug originally? Was that what it was used for?
I don't know. I don't know if it was a cancer drug. I think the cancer references the Harvard Medical School compares interstitial cystitis to the same quality of life of someone undergoing chemotherapy.
That's what it was. Okay.
Chronic, painful thing. Yeah.
Yes.
But this drug is making women go blind. It's like having this horrible disease isn't injury enough.
That's awful.
It is. And this is so important. You've got to listen to that gut inside of you. Because when they said to me, take this pill, and I was like, it's going to make my what fall out? Like, that doesn't sound good. And she's like, it doesn't happen to most. They try and calm you down, right? Mm-hmm. No, it's not most women. And they just kind of bring it down. And I was like, this does not sound good. I don't want to partake.
Oh no, that sounds
Not
horrible.
to listen to that voice. I was not crunchy. I was not crunchy back then. I just was like, that sounds creepy. And
Yeah,
I'm
good
gonna,
for you for listening to your voice. Okay, so you tried a whole bunch of different things. You stumbled upon homeopathy, following that little inner voice again, and you got really excited and passionate about it. So why don't you share with us so people understand, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about what homeopathy actually is, kind of how it works, because it may seem, if you're kind of not used to this kind of community, a little bit woo-woo, which is my favorite actually. So kind of just share a little bit about how it works and then go into why you fell in love with it and what you found for your family by utilizing homeopathy.
okay. So I'm going to give you like the quick and dirty, what the heck is homeopathy? Okay. So number one, it follows the principles of like heals like. It's called the law of similars or similum. And you know, we've seen this elsewhere, like in conventional medicine, like allergy treatments where you take like a micro dose of the allergen to like build an immunity to that. So it follows the principles of like heals like. And so what they've done is, as in homeopaths, and it was established in the 1800s by a medical doctor named Samuel Hahnemann, and he actually walked away from conventional medicine. This is when they were doing bloodletting. They were doing a lot of the like treating with lead, you know, all those horrible things. And he's like, I feel like I'm killing people, so I'm going to walk away from this. So he walked away from it. He became a medical translator. He spoke like a ton of languages and ended up with, over time, finding homeopathy. So this is how it works. He had this theory. He had this, he was translating medical texts and he was like, oh my gosh, this cinchona bark, it's just the bark of cinchona was an herb that they used. If you overdose on it, I think it brings on an intermittent fever, which is similar to the disease it treats, which is malaria. It's like, I wonder if the reason it helps is because overdosing on this mimics the disease that it can help. It's almost like, so a good example, like this is the universal example everybody uses with homeopathy, is onion. You sit down, chop an onion. You don't even have to ingest it. Like just overdosing it can be like being exposed to it, right? You chop up an onion. What happens when you chop up an onion? Your eyes start watering, your nose starts running. And then what makes it better, Alicia? Let's say you're chopping up an onion right now. What are you going to do to like feel a little bit better? What are you going to do?
I usually cover my face, walk away,
Cover your
wash my
face,
hands.
wash your hands, just walk away from it, like just getting away from that air, right?
Yep.
So what kind of illness causes runny eyes, runny nose? And we're
Allergies.
talking allergies. And we're not talking green, like the
Right.
details of the symptoms are very important. So we're talking like egg white runny nose, watery eyes, and then better and open air from going outside, which is weird for allergies.
Yeah.
Some, like usually when you go outside, allergies get worse.
Yeah.
So if you have someone that gets these symptoms, watery eyes, egg white runny nose, and for whatever reason, they kind of feel a little bit better when they go outside, which is weird. Allium cepa, the homeopathic form of allium cepa will help it. So let me give you another like really,
Is that traditional, like, is that a traditional, that's a traditional allergy?
that is a homeopathic medicine, yes.
Okay.
Now,
For
and I'll
allergies
talk
though.
about for allergies or colds as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Yep. So
Awesome.
let me give you like another example of a remedy, and then I'll talk about like what exact, because we're not just eating onion, like that's ridiculous. So that's not
Right.
homeopathy. It's not the crude substance, and we'll talk about how the remedy is made in a minute. So like another great example of a homeopathic remedy, let's think of one that Apis mellifica. Do you guys know what that is? Anyone know off the top of your head? Apis mellifica is honeybee. So they so think about what happens when you get stung by a bee. Swelling, hot, and we're not talking like a little bit of swelling. We're talking like, especially people who get allergic reactions, like it swells up like a water balloon, tight, shiny skin.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Okay.
really, and itching,
Right.
hives. Okay. So what kind of a situation where you might develop that? Maybe you're eating something that you have an allergic reaction to,
Yeah.
and your face gets all puffy. I remember once my son got bit by something. It wasn't a bee, but it swelled up, and the reaction from a bee sting is fast.
Okay.
So if you're fine and you're swelling and it's happening fast, Apis mellifica. Let me give you one more because this is so fun.
This is
One
fun.
more remedy. There's this flower. It's called Aconitum napellus. The common name is monkshood. It's extremely poisonous.
Okay.
Like extreme, I don't know if you've ever read Shakespeare as a college English teacher, and Macbeth's mom like drinks a cup and she like dies instantly. And I always tell everybody, like, I bet you that was monkshood, because this is a remedy. This is not a remedy. This is a flower where if you ingest it, it'll kill you instantly. It's fast, right? So for this remedy, Aconitum napellus, anything that comes on suddenly, a shock to the system, it can help ameliorate. So obviously we've talked about a range of things.
Right.
Onion isn't quite toxic. Bee sting, nobody really wants to take that. And then monkshood is highly poisonous. What
Right.
makes homeopathy so safe? What's interesting about homeopathy in the United States, it is a federally recognized drug. It is
Oh,
in the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. It is a drug. It is not a supplement. So it is a federally recognized form of medicine, and FDA inspects the pharmacies that manufacture these medicines because it is considered a drug, and they oversee the manufacturing process for it. So what happens is homeopathic remedies take the source material, the crude substance,
okay.
and they start a process of dilution and succussion, and it's very important. So, like let me show you guys here. So I don't know if you can see in this video. Do you see all those little white pellets?
Yep.
These are actually pretty small. I would say these are like poppy seed sizes, but a lot of the ones you get over the counter at Whole Foods, they are more like BB gun
Yeah.
pellet size,
Little tiny, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what they do is they take the source material and they will create like a tincture out of it, So they'll, like the onion, they'll dry it, dry the leaves, or for aconite, and it the parts of the plant matter. So for aconite, I think it's the whole plant all the way down to the root that they dry, crush, make a tea out of it, decant it, remove all the particles, and you have like the mother tincture, the tea. And they take one drop out of that and they begin a process of dilution. So this remedy here says 200C. I got these.
Right.
This is the European brand, 200C. So C is the Roman numeral for 100. So they take one drop and dilute it dilute it 99 times. That makes 100 drops. There you have 1C. They shake it. They take a drop out of that. They put it in another bottle, dilute it, and the dilutant is usually like water and alcohol, and they dilute that 99 times. Shake it. 2C. Take one drop out of that. 3C. So by the time you have a remedy, that one drop of the original substance that has been diluted 200 times to the 100th power.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous, right? This does not work. This is where you all walk away. I was so desperate. Remember, my bladder was being lit on fire, turned inside out, and put out the track shoe. When I went to my homeopath and they prescribed this remedy, and I looked it up and I was like, what? And then it came in the mail. I was like, I don't care. I'm not above anything at this point. I would be happy to see a witch doctor if they're going to help me feel better. I'm just going to take this. And I tried that first remedy. It didn't work. I tried the second remedy. It didn't work. And I went for the third one, and it started to help. The remedy my homeopath gave me, because my bladder was just on fire all the time, is cantharis. It's made from a beetle that, like, they'll crush it into a powder, like the whole body. And if you put that on your skin, it creates blisters and it burns like fire. So the remedy my homeopath gave me was cantharis, and it was diluted 200 times to the 100th power. And that, it's prepared by a pharmacy. And it's amazing how it helps. If you ever burn yourself, just don't do the lavender oil, don't do any of that stuff. Just take a cantharis, just to show yourself that this stuff works. I remember I burnt my finger once right here with a hot glue gun. And the hot glue was here and I couldn't rip it off because then I'd burn my other finger. So I had to wait, and it just got really big and blistered. And I finally took it off after it cooled enough. And I told my husband, like, this is one of those burns that I'm going to be up all night. It is so painful. Then I remembered cantharis for burns. So I took one little pellet, and within 10 minutes, I swear, that burn felt like it was 3 days old. That is
How many different things have we tried for that? We tried, aloe vera and coconut oil and butter even, all the quote unquote like natural remedies, and nothing works.
It works like what homeopathy does is it triggers your healing ability and it speeds it up. It just
Wow.
presses
Oh,
the fast
wow.
forward button. So it's not the actual, because it's not the medicine itself, because there's nothing in it in the sense of,
Exactly.
but it leaves like an energetic information. It's an
Right.
imprint. And that stimulates your body. Your body is like, oh, you have a burn. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to help. I don't know what to do. And then basically what you're doing is you're tricking your body. Your body is taking that cantharis, which is supposed to cause burning. And your body is saying, oh crap, you're getting burned by this fake illness, but we need to mount a defense against this fake illness that you just took. And then
Right.
instead you're healing the actual illness.
Oh, that is so cool.
It
So
is so
I
cool.
always looked at homeopathy kind of like it's an essence, but I liked your energetic imprint much better. I think that describes it better. So,
My son
and that
calls
is
it
so
love
now that is true. And now we know from quantum physics how very true that is. You know, when they started with homeopathy, how many hundreds of years ago or whatever it's been, they didn't know that. But now we can prove that through quantum physics that's
It's
a
so
real
cool.
thing.
They've done these, like, they've taken these thermal microscopes and looked at homeopathic water and looked at regular plain water, and they see like these snowflake patterns
Oh, wow.
on the homeopathic water, and in the regular water they don't see that. And they'll see that pattern kind of repeated for the same remedy, and then you get a different remedy, it has a different pattern.
Oh, very cool.
Really cool. It's really interesting. But again, you know, what's really great about it is, like, let's say you have that burn and you take the wrong remedy. Let's say you took Allium Cepa because you just did and you didn't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to do anything. It's most of the time you're not going to, it's nothing's going to happen. You just need to take the, so what people will say is, oh, I took a remedy, it didn't work. It's like the correct one wasn't selected, which is what happened the first time. The second time, it wasn't until, are you familiar with the term resonance, Alicia?
Yes.
Okay, so in my homeschooling curriculum, I teach this. So you have two tuning forks. I'm just going to explain it to them.
Oh, good. Perfect. Awesome.
Two tuning forks, right? Let's pretend they're the same note. They're the same tone, right? If you hit one tuning fork and it starts to sing, this one will resonate, and then and then you silence this one and you'll hear this one is singing. It's a little bit quieter, but it's singing. So that's called resonance. That's the law of similars right there.
Right.
If this is similar enough to this, it will create an energetic back and forth where it passes the information, and then this one. It's the same thing with your body. If the remedy you're taking resonates with your disease state, you take that remedy and then your body responds and triggers that healing response. So it's the law of similars and resonance. Yeah.
So I love that. Great explanation. I think that, so when you started describing these different remedies for these different similar type conditions, one of the things that I actually learned from the last time you and I talked was how important the symptoms are, because that's what you're saying. Even though it could be similar, it has to be the same. And I think your son's story really personifies that the very best, because I mean, the most amazing story to me about homeopathy that I've ever heard. Can you explain what happened with your son?
Yeah, for sure. So I've got 3 kids, and homeopathy is wonderful for acute things like those burns and everything. But and the nice thing, like, acute is really easy to do at home yourself because it's a short-lived illness that you can wrap your mind around the beginning and the end of that illness really quickly. A chronic illness is something that really needs a professional because it encompasses a whole lifetime. It could be someone who's had a ton of abuse their whole life, and then they have a bladder disease.
Right.
And the abuse has something to do with the bladder disease. So my son is 13 now, and he was like 11, and he was going through a massive growth spurt. He's 13, I'm 5'9", and he's taller than me now. So that's like, he's giant, and he's so skinny and everything. And during this, I just noticed during this growth spurt, he was just growing so fast. And something, and that I wasn't concerned. He eats well, go to the chiropractor, everything's fine. But then he started having this personality shift and it wasn't, I didn't even associate it with the growth spurt. I just noticed, like, he was getting grouchy, and he was getting so grouchy, Alicia, that I know there's an age where you can't hug your boys anymore like you used to and kiss them and slobber them, you know. And he was like, but it was kind of like a disgust. He had like a disgust with me, and I was just like, that's kind of a little more than I want to see. And I was really like, my mom gut was like, there's something wrong. And let me give you an example. One time we were all watching a movie downstairs, my family was, and I came downstairs to join them. And my son was on the big couch, and he was on the first cushion and under a blanket. And I got under the blanket on the third cushion. So there's a whole cushion in between us. I got under the blanket, I didn't touch him. I was on my cushion. And he, like, just was so disgusted to like even be under the same blanket. Like, he like threw the blanket at me and says, "Ugh, just take the blanket. I'll go get another one." And I was like, well, first for rude. But,
and then my heart hurts.
you know, then I feel really rejected. Which again, there's a degree of that which is totally normal. But my mom gut was saying there's a deeper like yuck here that I'm not feeling good about. And he was just gloomy and grouchy and negative, and I was getting annoyed with him. And I just could see the cycle starting, you guys. The cycle of like, and I just like, this does not need to be happening. So I went to his homeopath and I was like, look, this is a story. He's being a jerk, and this is what's going on, and this is going on. And then she was like, is there anything else you could tell me? And I'm like, well, he has grown a ton lately. Like, he's super tall, because they want to know about everything. Like, he's gotten really tall, like growing so fast. At the time he was like, I was like, I swear 6 months ago he was this tall, and he's almost my height. Like, I swear he's growing so fast. And she went, okay. So she prescribed a remedy. I know this remedy because it's typical for growing bones. It's typical for that. Huh. I gave him 1 dose that night. I had some on hand already. And I gave him 1 more in the morning. It was just a 200C as well. And the next morning, I'm homeschooling my kids. I'm downstairs. I have little kid next to me, my other little kid next to me. We're under a blanket. I'm reading a book. My son comes downstairs and he goes, move it. I'm sitting next to mom today. Sits next to me and climbs under the blanket. And I was like, oh my gosh. And just so, and it's like, after that, I'm still mom. I still can't hug and kiss him like before, but it's like, now he kind of laughs and I like tackle him. And it's just a little bit, there's something that was dark that has lifted, man. And it just smoothed out, and he's my growing son again.
The first time I heard this story, I'm glad we do pre-interviews, because I cried. Like, I cried because I thought of all the kids who struggled, who didn't have the benefit of what you know and what you have, and the help that you got, who just continue to struggle. Because it is an energetic fix, right? So it's not even just, it's not a medical fix, it's an energetic fix. So it fixes the problem at its origination. And I thought of all those kids who never, and their parents grew apart, or they drifted off into drugs, or all the things that could happen. But instead, this incredible turnaround in 24 hours just absolutely just melted my heart. It made me so happy. And it just made me wish I'd known about homeopathy all this time.
I know it. And like, I have another one for you. I mean, I don't know if you had time for this.
Go for it.
Well, my husband, like, he and we get along super well. We're both super busy. We get along super well. And suddenly, like, after we moved here to the UK, he was just kind of a grouch. And I was like, dude, why is he being so grouchy? And it just started, like, to the point that he got explosive once and like yelled at me. And I've been married for, I got married, I don't know. I've been married for a long time, 14 years, 15 years, like, long enough to know, like, and that has never happened. Right. He's quiet, calm. Listen, I'm the explosive one, not him, right? So right. I was just like, oh my gosh, I am so concerned about this. I'm like, homeopath, something's wrong. So what I did was, I was just, that was on the back of my mind, like this thing with him that he was just grumpy, and I thought maybe it's a move. But he was getting all these warts on his fingers, big warts on his fingers. Uh-huh. And so I met with the homeopath about the warts. And I told our homeopath, we have a family homeopath, so he knows all the family. And so I'm like, okay, and this wart, and this wart, and this wart. And I'm like, okay. So he's like, okay. Anything else you can tell me? Oh, he's been really grouchy, and he got so mad at me, and he yelled at me, and like, it was really weird. And I've never had that happen. I'm telling you, it's not him. And then the homeopath's like, okay, I'm going to pick something, and we'll try and get it all. So my husband takes this remedy. He had to take it actually daily for a while. It wasn't just like a one and done, like with my son. He took it for like a week. And then I was like, we're not bickering anymore. We're not arguing anymore. The warts were still there, but we're not bickering anymore. And then a month later, my husband's like, picked off the first wart, and then they fell off. Now think about this, you guys. It's like it's the whole body that was a little bit off. And the warts were a manifestation. This is why we say in homeopathy that symptoms are gifts. You don't go get those frozen off. You don't freeze them off, because they are helping you get to all of it. Imagine if we had just gotten those warts frozen off.
Yep. Y'all still be bickering. Or you might not be together.
I wouldn't have the warts to guide me to the right remedy to fix it all.
Wow.
Do you see what I'm saying? It's fantastic.
That's crazy. God, I'm in love with this. Okay, so we're going to start getting ready to set up for a couple more things. I do want people to have a chance to ask you questions, because I know that with me, this was so new to me that I, believe it or not, all these years in the wellness industry, and this is just not anything I know that much about, which is crazy. I know about so many things, but not this. And I've learned so much from this. So there's a couple things I want you to talk about. First, I want you to talk about like three things: getting a starter kit, like maybe show them yours, where they can find resources to get a homeopath if they actually need somebody to help them on a more in-depth problem. And I say them, us. And lastly, your curriculum, which we'll talk about when we go to the wheel. But right now, like, go for those two things, and then we'll talk about your curriculum.
Cool. I dropped my lamp. I want to go get it, but
okay, no worries. How are we doing on Facebook, guys? If you guys are on Facebook, please make sure you say hello, because if you don't say hello, we don't know you're there, and we cannot enter you into this drawing for this fabulous curriculum. I'm so excited for her to share this with you guys. This lady's amazing, and the things that she's created. Just listen to her. You've been a great interview. So go ahead, show us your stuff.
And I love what Alyssa said here. Homeopathy is so bio-individual, which is what makes it so effective and amazing. That's right. So you want me to show them my kit, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is my homeopathy kit. You can see it is well loved. And I got this one because there's 100 remedies. And look, like this one, someone stole this little remedy down here, but there's 100 remedies. And the bottom 9 are repeats of the most common emergency remedies. So all of these are in 30C, so they've been diluted 30 times to the 100th power. And then these bottom ones are 200C. Now, this is the crazy part, that the more diluted is in homeopathy, the stronger impact.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I would have thought it would have been the opposite way.
I know.
Okay.
We're so tied to chemical
right.
like material substances, but in homeopathy, I think the way I've told myself, I don't know if this is a thing or not. This is just like how my brain works. Like, this is cellular medicine. It's stimulating your cells. So I think the more diluted the nanoparticle gets, the easier it slips into those cells, communicates. So who knows? But
could be.
So this is Washington Homeopathics. And this is their top 100 remedy kit.
Okay, cool.
And I even have a coupon code I can share with you guys
awesome.
for it. I'm president of Americans for Homeopathy Choice to defend access to homeopathy. And the coupon code is AFHC 2020. So I'll type it here in the chat.
AFHC, I got it, 2020. AFHC 2020. Washington Homeopathics. Washington.
Homeopathics, homeopathyworks.com if you want to go to their website. Yeah, and I'll just send you, Alicia, send you a quick little photograph that you can use.
Okay, perfect.
I'll put it in the Facebook chat.
That's exciting.
This gives you 5% off, and then another little bit is donated to Homeopathy Choice. So it's kind of a win-win for advocacy and for Homeopathy Choice. But this is the best kit to start with.
Okay.
Because it's so frustrating when you know what remedy you need to use, like you Google it and you figure it out. You're like, okay, I'm going to give him this remedy. Then it's like, and the store doesn't have it. So that's why this is so great. And I bring this on trips and everything, and I love it. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so next, so coupon code, where do you get it? Okay, resources. If somebody needed a deeper work, because you did say, you emphasized this to me from the beginning, this is great for stuff that's acute, things you can take care of at home. But if there's something that's more chronic, and you even actually mentioned like a cough, especially, is like something that's kind of difficult to get pinpoint sometimes, you really need a professional. So as far as resources to find, now, see, I know you all thought she was a professional because she sounds like one, right? She knows her stuff, but she isn't. She actually has a master's in curriculum. I think I mentioned that in the beginning, and that's really her specialty, is teaching about this stuff, which is why she's doing such a great job. So go ahead, share.
Yeah, so what I would say is anytime you have a chronic illness, I strongly recommend working with a professional homeopath. There's a lot of directories. The National Center for Homeopathy, if you just Google that.
Okay.
typing it out here. This, they have a directory for you to find a professional homeopath. Also, there's the North American Society of Homeopathy. They have a great directory. There's a lot of different organizations that have directories, but those are a couple that you can start on. I wouldn't be obsessed about trying to find someone local to you because a lot of homeopaths meet online. And so I just say find the best quality homeopath. One word of caution I have, there's a lot of naturopaths who are wonderful who use homeopathy, but homeopathy is so deep and so profound that you really need someone who dedicates their full-time practice to just homeopathy. So of course, keep your naturopath. It's a wonderful, like I have a whole team for my family, right? Which we've actually had to use less and less and less because homeopathy does it all.
Right.
But so at this point, I rely mostly on just our family homeopath, but just find someone that lives and breathes this, that is qualified, and like a good certification for them to have is CCH. Like if you see that on their name, comma CCH, that means they have the certification to be, they've done stuff good.
And just so you guys know, I did post the coupon, and I will post the coupon code and all these other resources into the event page. So if you're not on the event page, reach out to somebody who invited you to this to make sure you get on the event page. So from there, I'm going to see where we are with setting up the will for the giveaway that you've generously agreed to donate your curriculum. So I'm so excited about this. I think everybody should grab one of these. I think one of the things that I think is the most exciting thing about this, not just its subject matter is great, is the fact that it actually encompasses, you can do the one-room schoolhouse concept. And if those of you who know about homeschooling or have homeschooled, you can teach multiple grades on multiple levels at one time with this curriculum. And then she's got like 2 different paths you can take. So whoever wins can pick one of the paths, and I'll let her show you and tell you all about it. But it's amazing. And you can learn right along with your kids all about homeopathy, which is one of the great things about homeschooling anyways. You can learn along with your kids.
Yeah, thank you. So my kids are bringing it upstairs. I forgot that we actually cleaned that. I'm hiding in my room. We have a tiny little European house or whatever, but so I'll show you guys in a second. So this really does teach about health and homeopathy. Obviously the focus is homeopathy, but like that first unit talks about terrain theory, which is like the health of the host of the organism impacts how vulnerable we are to illness. It's not the disease, it's our vulnerability to disease that has the problem. So I love that that it really kind of does cover just beyond just I think just homeopathy, but they learn 19 different homeopathic remedies that are specific for emergency situations, and it's a literature-based curriculum. So this is what you're going to be winning if you win this. First, you're going to get the storybook, Evie and the Secret of Small Things. So it's a literature-based curriculum because when you think about if you've ever heard like a parable or one of those Chinese proverb type stories. I remember hearing the Emperor's Clothes when I was a kid, where the emperor runs around naked because he thinks that he has this beautiful garment on. Well, as a child, that story meant one thing to me. But as I've gotten older and I've seen how ridiculous politics is in, the government, that takes on a whole new meaning. That's what a literature-based curriculum is it uses story, and story connects to you and meets you where you are. And that's what I love about literature-based curriculum so I say that this is a read aloud book for ages 6 to 96, and you get that idea. Those. Okay, so then you're going to get the teacher's manual. So the teacher's manual guides you through all the lessons for grades 1 through 12. Okay, so you're going to get that. And sometimes, sometimes there's something that's just for the older kids. So it'll say this is just for older kids. So if you're teaching your whole family, you might say to the first grader, go climb a tree, go have some fun. I'm going to finish up with the older kids. But most of it is about the same. And then the only thing that changes in the curriculum is the workbooks. So you can choose either level 1 workbook, level 2, or level 3 workbook right here. So basically what happens is, let's say you're doing the first assignment. And actually, can I show them the first assignment just really quick?
Yes, please. Okay. Yeah.
All right, so here's the first assignment. The first assignment is, one of the first assignments is to learn about side effects to drugs. Okay. So in the level 1 workbook, so you're going to assign this assignment to all your children simultaneously. And in the level 1 workbook, they get a very simplified drug label where I've taken the drug label to Tylenol and I've reworded it. And I've, instead of using diarrhea, I said watery poop.
Okay.
You know what I've simplified it for them here. And then they've taken this little outline of a body and they color the body like jaundice. So I said yellow skin. So they color it yellow. They color all the symptoms. Level 2 workbook for the middle-aged kids, they're going to get all 3 drug labels in their original language. And they're going to color the body too, but they're going to put all 3 in there. For the level 3 students, they're going to have to do what grown-ups should be doing. They're going to have to sit their butt at the computer and look up these drugs and write down the side effects. And they're going to color too, because I think sometimes high school kids get gypped from getting to color. So they get to color too. But that's a good example of how you're assigning the same assignment to all the ages, but it's leveled for, you know, the appropriateness of their age. So
Awesome. Okay, so Alyssa, yes, can you do it the wheel? Are you at a place that you can do it? If you are, that would be great. 'Cause I'm just going to open up for questions while you get it set up. It's just thewheelofnames.com.
Yep, I'm working on it right now.
Awesome. Thank you. And I did get them written down so I can make sure we get them all on there. Okay, so let's open it up. Go ahead.
I said, you're doing great. This is awesome. Your whole team is awesome. Oh, you're
I'm
muted.
so sorry. Yeah, I'm so lucky to have such a great group of ladies helping me and working together. That's what I love about this community. Okay, so with that being said, I want to open it up to questions. I'll look at the Facebook. Anybody who's on Zoom, you guys go ahead. You can unmute yourself. You can type it in the chat. Paola will watch the chat, and then I'll just check on Facebook and see if there's any questions there while Alyssa sets up the Wheel of Names. And I just want to say welcome and thank you everybody for joining us. What a great group we've had today. So
yes, and Alicia says here, it's not a question, but she says, oh wait, no, it's Marley said that she loves the one room schoolhouse concepts, and I totally agree. It's the way to go when you're trying to teach.
I did that with Sunlight with my kids. I use Sunlight, which is a literature-based one room schoolhouse concept, and I loved it. I tried to do everything I could with my kids together. It just seemed simpler. And Marley grew up in homeschooling and is homeschooling her own kids, so she's familiar with a lot of this stuff.
And I do have, Marley, I do have a preschool and kindergarten primer that I just released actually this month too. So I just see little tiny children at the beginning of the show. So that's so awesome. Yes, she's your darling.
Okay, questions? I know you guys have questions. We've been waiting for somebody to come on and talk to us about this. Wasn't this great? Such a great conversation. Yeah. Okay, so let me tell you who I've got. Or you tell me, you tell me who you've got to listen. I'll just check everybody off as I go, just make sure we've got everybody.
Danica, Stanell, me, Kenna, Shankila.
Yep, that's
Sorry.
right.
Charlene, Ashley, Nicole, Marley, Hannah, and Miranda.
Yep, Marley, Hannah, and Miranda. That's all I've got.
Did I miss anyone?
One last chance. I know Karen's on here, but she might be at school. She might not be able to say anything. So
this curriculum costs just under, like, I think it's like $287. I do have payment plans if you don't win, if you need to do like pay it in 3 payments.
Nice. Oh, that is so good, because so many things it would just make it so much easier if you would just give me a little payment plan to make it easier. Go ahead and put Karen on there, Alyssa, because I know she's here, and I know she wants to be involved. So, oh, what about Raul? Differentiate remedy according to Dr. Kent for perfect selection. Do you know what that means?
So he's talking about Kent. He's one of the big homeopaths of the past who has, you know, different homeopaths have come through and had like different approaches to selecting the remedy. So Kent is great. Love Kent. But I am just a mommyopath, so I'm not that deep.
Okay. So if you want to go that deep, go to Kent. All right, perfect. So Alyssa, you can't share, you're on your phone, aren't you? So you can't share your screen.
No, I'm on the computer.
Oh, would you share your screen?
I can share my screen.
Awesome.
Let me see if I know how to do that.
I'm gonna go ahead and put everybody back on speaker view so we can see who's left here, who hung out with us all the way. I knew this was gonna probably take a little bit longer, but it's so worth it.
It's fun. Yeah, I can tell you guys another story while we're pulling that up. Do you want me to?
Sure.
All right,
yes,
so this is my like really awesome 13-year-old, and he was 12. Beware of 12-year-olds. I see all these moms with little babies.
Yeah.
Beware. prepare yourself. So my son, this is right after New Year's, my son's downstairs and he's with his brother and he found a leftover firework from New Year's. And he's like, in the living room, I'm going to light it. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. It lights on accident. And he's trying to put it out with his hand. It shoots out of his hand. He gets like a 2nd-degree burn on his hand. It was charred, black, charred.
Oh
He
my
came
gosh.
up freaking out, panicking, screaming. His face was white. And all he said is, I'm going to die. I'm so sorry. I'm going to die. I'm so sorry. I'm going to die. I'm so sorry. And guess what? Guess what remedy? I mentioned this remedy during our show today.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was the one that you used on your hand when you burned it with the hot glue
No,
gun.
well, I used that later, but that's not the remedy. He was screaming. He was saying, I'm going to die. I'm so sorry. I'm going to, like, the panic was out of control. Which remedy is like shock? It's aconitum napellus. It's that one that kills you in 2 seconds.
The one, right. The one that
people who need aconite are in shock. They think they're going to die, and it comes on suddenly and fast. And so I gave him one.
So you would think he was just being a dramatic teenager, but he wasn't.
No,
every one of those things meant something.
Well, you just got to take it at face value. So I looked at him and I was like, okay, here's some. I gave him aconite right from this little kit. I gave him aconite under his tongue. And like instantly he did this. He sat on the bed and I'm just watching him. He sits on right here in this bed, on the bed. He sits down. He goes, okay, maybe I'm not going to die. And he said it to himself, like, okay, maybe I'm not going to die. And I was like, and then he goes, but Mom, it really hurts. It hurts. So now I'm shifting to a new symptom. And I'm like, now it's cantharis. And I'm like, okay, here's cantharis. So we actually repeated that over. Within 45 minutes, I said to him, what is your pain level now? I'm telling you, his hand was black, charred, and there was a blister that had popped within seconds. Like bad, whole bad, black. And he goes, and I go, so 45 minutes into this, what is your pain level at? I don't have any pain. I'm like, okay, that's nice. Homeopathy is great. All right, but really tell me your pain level. He's like, Mom, it only hurts like if I move it, but if I hold it completely still, there's no pain.
And how many of us have had burns that are painful for days? Every time you hit water, or anything. Oh my goodness. Within
about 7 days, his skin was healed and perfectly normal. I'm telling you.
Okay, if I ever have anything go on with me, guys, I want homeopathy, especially if it has anything to do with a burn, but anything, okay?
Yes, for all of it, yeah.
All right, Lisa, go. Let's share. Let's roll that screen so we can get our winners here. I know they're all excited and waiting. We got everybody. And then I'll wrap it up. And
how fun is this? Good job.
Isn't this cool?
Yeah.
Is it Danica?
Yeah, Danica.
Danica, you are our winner. Okay. So Danica, you reach out to Paola.
Yes.
And she'll take care of you. Okay. And everybody else, go order it. And then, I mean, I would if I was homeschooling. Maybe I will anyway. I have grandchildren, right? So, so let me just wrap this up. Thank you again so much. This was educational, informative, entertaining, and fun. Now, for the rest of you, just so you know, we do these usually at 1 p.m. unless a guest absolutely for some reason can't make it and we think they're worth it, we'll shift. But in general, we try to keep it the same time so you know where we're going to show up here live on Facebook and on Zoom every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time. And next week, we have a sleep expert. Kenna, any chance, are you in a position to be able to share about her really quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So Taylor, her name is Taylor, and I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. It's Kulik. She is a sleep specialist. I found her on Instagram, and she is not the traditional sleep specialist that most parents would get in contact with. She is about attachment focused sleep. So a lot of moms have instincts to co-sleep and like nurture their babies throughout the night, as opposed to the traditional route of sleep training. Not saying one is better than the other, but she just helps those moms that have the desire to have more attachment focused sleep. And so she helps moms navigate through that. So she's coming to talk on next week.
Perfect. Okay, so join us then. Now, Remember, if you are here today and you're not in the event page, just ask somebody that you know who's on here to add you to the event page so you can get to all the resources. We do each week we do an event page, okay? So you need to be in the event page to get all the information. You can always, though, never miss one of these conversations by going to YouTube. The YouTube channel I'll also post in the event page, but it's Alicia McPeak Presents. And make sure when you go there to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you never miss one of these conversations ever again. Now, with that, thank you so much for joining us today. This really has been fun, and thank you again so much, Paola. Stay healthy, well, and wise, and see you guys all next week.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, ending it now. See y'all.